Hey everybody, welcome to Kingdom Builder TV. I'm your host, Jay Heilman. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, there's a new film coming to theaters this weekend called Eric Larue, and I am pleased to be joined by director Michael Shannon, actress Judy Greer, and screenwriter Brett Neveu. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, Brett, you wrote this story. Can you tell us briefly about it? And, what was it like having it optioned as a film?
Optioned. I written it's about the aftermath, like the aftermath of the aftermath, as Michael says, of a violence in schools, a school shooting in a small town in America, and it's primarily focused on the mother of the shooter and her journey through trying to understand exactly what happened. And it also is about two churches in the town, one a Presbyterian church, one an evangelical church, that are sort of, they're both trying to set up a meeting of the mothers, with the mothers, the victims, and with the shooter, and try to heal the town. And so that's sort of the propulsion of the story. Whether or not that's helpful or whether or not that's not is what that's about, and how it affects the marriages and the relationships in the town. And
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I my manager Megan Schumacher had been on me about adapting the play, which I'd written in like 98 or 99. It was produced at Red Orchid Theater, where Michael is a founding member and I'm a company member there, ensemble member. And I finally adapted it about 15 years later. She asked me for 15 years, and then I just Mike and I were working on a play. He had directed one of my plays at the theater, and I was a closing night. And on the way out to go sort of celebrate the closing night, I had it in an envelope, and I said, "Hey, Mike, could you just take a look at this and let me know if this is a thing?" And he's like, "Sure." He put it in his bag, and about 2 or 3 weeks later, I got a text that just said he really loved it, and then the next text was, "I think I might want to direct this."
Mm.
And then now here we are.
Well, that kind of goes to my next question because I got a chance to see this film. Not only does it possess a great story, but one that deals with intense subject matter and the tragic aftermath. So, Michael, you're known to audiences as a seasoned veteran actor. Having iconic roles like General Zod from Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and dating all the way back to Groundhogs, Pearl Harbor, Bad Boys 2. And I told my son this morning when he was leaving for school, I said, just so you know, I'm going to be in communication with General Zod. And he's like, what? But this is your first time in the director's seat. What was it like stepping behind the camera for this one and working with Judy and the other actors on Eric Larue?
Yeah, I'd always been very reluctant to do it because it looked too hard. It looked like too much work. Because there's so much you have to keep track of, and you're really dealing with when you're acting, you're just acting, but when you're directing, you're dealing with so many different art forms and whatnot, and trying to get them all to come together in a harmonious way. So, but when I read this, it just seemed so important to me to get it right, and I was worried if somebody else did it, they might mess it up. Maybe I messed it up. I don't know, but I at the
No.
time I thought I was the chosen one. Yes. No. So and then I also just, when I was reading it, I could see the actors that made sense to me in the parts, and I could see the town, and I could just see the images in it, and it just kind of came to me like a vision. So I decided to take a chance on it, and then yeah, when I was doing it, I actually it wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be. I actually really I was very inspired by the artists that were working with me. They were inspired. They were doing their best work and really making an effort. So it minimized the stress on me. Yeah.
Well, it was a great movie. You did a great job. And,
Thanks, Jay.
Michael and Judy, I'm a big fan of both your work. Judy, you two are a veteran actress. And I remember the first couple films I had seen you in were What Women Want and Jawbreaker, as well as last year's Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Awesome movie. And, having seen your last work, Judy, I want to say that your role as Janice LaRue, you were absolutely phenomenal. What was your inspiration in wanting to sign on to this one, and how did you prepare for this role?
I frankly would have. I mean, I wanted to do it before I even read the script, just because Mike asked me to do it. He told me, I think about 8 years before this movie, that he never wanted to direct, and he said a swear word, and then he said no when I asked him if he ever wanted to direct. So then you did. And so then when he sends me a text saying, I want you to read the script, I think I want to direct this movie, and I was like, well, I mean, if he's sending me the script, I think he's asking me to be in it. So I knew that I had to be professional and read it before saying yes. So that's the first answer. But when it came down to like the story, it was very uncomfortable when I read it. I was very uncomfortable with the story, with the role after my first read, which usually is a good sign, I think, if it's something that I don't totally understand and I'm afraid of and excited about. I'd never seen this version of this story before, with no violence in it, the aftermath of it, the sort of battling churches, the community so broken, like desperate to get past this, to not have this be the definition of who they are anymore. I found that so interesting. I found this woman Janice to be so courageous and so vulnerable, and I think for someone who so clearly started out as an introvert to have the guts to reach out for help, to want to try to talk to these women, to want to try to get answers for herself, get past her trauma, to figure out how to be a mother to her son again. I think all this was so beautiful, and I was so inspired by this character, and preparing for it, it was just really like getting inside the head of Brett, having time with Mike when I got to North Carolina where we shot it, reading the script over and over again, doing a little bit of research too on these parents of these kids, figuring out what their life is like afterward. I mean, every situation is so specific. And I think, it just takes, every one of these people have dealt with it in a different way. So I was kind of trying to collect a little bit of that too.
Yeah. Well, Eric Larue is in theaters this weekend. And guys, I want to thank you so much. Thank you to Brett, Michael, and Judy for joining me today, and praying that big things happen with this movie. Blessings to you guys all.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you so
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
When Eric was 7, we took a trip to Leech Lake.
That must have been nice. Were there leeches in the lake?
Yes, Eric had some between his toes.
Wait, Eric was bleeding?
Why are you asking me that?
What does him bleeding have to do with...
Stop. I've made you angry.
I'm not.
Hi, you need some help with the groceries?
No. What's tonight?
Prayer group at Redeemer. You want to join?
No, thank you. I just want to understand why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling.
There's more than just you involved. We don't want these wounds to get infected.
Thank you for your guidance. It means a lot to me.
Look up a pastor's job description. The word guidance is the first thing you'll see.
I think I'm really starting to understand more about the Lord's path for me.
What are you understanding?
More about the Lord's path.
I believe this all happened for a reason. I know it.
You should leave yourself open to healing and pray.
Oh, stop talking to me like that. I'm not a child.
I don't want to talk about what happened to my son.
I feel the same way.
Your son isn't gone, Janice. Your son is alive.
You're gonna come through the other side of this, and everything is gonna be better. Do you believe me?
Eric killed those boys. He shot them.